Hey everybody, it's Charlene. Today I'm going to share with you a couple of ways you can dress up your cards using hero wax. I have here a strip of nautical, peacock, and paradise cardstock, and I've cut these to 5.5 by just slightly under 1.5 inches. When you put them all together, they're going to create an A2 sized card panel that's 4.25 inches by 5.5. I have here a piece of double-sided adhesive that is cut to just slightly under an A2 sized piece of cardstock. I'm going to put it towards the corner here of my scoring tool, and then I can bring in the first piece of colored cardstock. I'm going to line this all the way to the edge in the corner and bring it down so that it adheres to the adhesive sheet. Now I can take this piece out and add my additional strips. I do that by pushing up against the first strip at an angle, making sure it is lined up right with the first strip and you see no gap in between the two pieces. Then I can drop it down and smooth it out, and I'll repeat that with the third strip. Once I have everything down, I like to use a bone folder to ensure that it's all adhered really well. You could do this on any size strip of cardstock that you would like. You could use thinner strips or thicker strips. I just thought these three colors would look really nice together. I have here the Snowflake patterned cover die, and you can see there are no edges on this, so it's not going to cut out a rectangle. That gives you a lot of options for different kinds of techniques. It's just going to cut out all of your snowflakes. So I'll line this up over the piece of cardstock that we created, and then I'll use a piece of low tack tape and I'll bring it around the edge of each side. That's going to hold our cover plate in place while we run it through the die cutting machine. Since I'm working with an adhesive sheet, I did go ahead and put a piece of copy paper underneath, and I used a shim in order to add some extra pressure when cutting these out. If you have trouble with double-sided adhesive sheets, you can always glue your strips of paper to a piece of thin copy paper, the kind you use in your printer, rather than using a double-sided sheet like I did. So now I can go ahead and pop out all of my little snowflakes. When I'm popping them out, I like to work with a tool and pop the edges out first and work my way towards the center. This works really well with snowflakes and keeps them from bending. You could leave this as it is and just put it over a piece of white cardstock and it would look really nice. You get this fun effect. But I'm going to dress this up by using some of the new hero wax. I have here Icelandic and wintergreen. I'm going to be using the Icelandic today. And I'll start by using my cover plate again, and I'm going to dry emboss my piece of white cardstock in my die cutting machine. Different machines will have different ways of doing this. For the universal plate system with the Spellbinders Platinum 6, you put your platform base, your platform top, and then you have your die with the cut side up, and then you add your tan embossing mat over the top. Lastly, you put your D adapter plate and run the entire thing through your machine. When you're done, you should have a nice embossed image on your cardstock. So now I have that Icelandic wax, and I'm going to get just a little bit on my finger, not very much, and then I am going to rub it directly over the areas that I want it to be colored. I'm not going to color this entire piece. I'm only going to color over some of the snowflakes. I do want to make sure and rub this on nice and smooth. And if you don't want that white border around your snowflakes, you do want to make sure you get down into those little crevices. You could do this with a foam dauber or a small detail sponge tool. I just find it easier to use my finger. And the reason I dry embossed is so that I could see exactly where those snowflakes were going to be. I also think it would look really fun to use different colors of wax on each of the snowflakes. And I know this seems messy, but all you do is wipe off the wax when you're done and it comes right off your fingertip. While our piece is drying, I'm bringing in here the color layering snowflake stencils. This is the first layer. I'm going to go ahead and tape this down at the top, and you can see underneath I have an A2 sized piece of cardstock. And I'm placing my snowflakes ahead of time. I have a good idea of kind of what I like, and I'm going to take a picture so I can remember later. It's a great trick to help you remember a layout. Now I can go ahead and bring in my wax. First, I'm going to put a second piece of tape down here at the bottom to make sure nothing shifts on me. I'll make sure to mix up my wax really well, and then I'm going to put a good amount and run it all the way across my stencil. Once I've run it through the entire stencil, I can go ahead and lift off my tape, and then I can carefully peel up the stencil. I am holding my paper down so it doesn't move. Then I can lift up my piece and set it aside to dry. Our first piece we created is essentially dry, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the release tape from the back of our die cut piece with the 3 different colors that we created. And then I will just carefully line this up so that it lays over the snowflakes in the same spaces. I'm not paying attention to the edges of the cardstock because you can see they're peeking out afterwards, and all I need to do is bring in my scissors and just trim off that extra white from around the edges. Now we have all of those pretty shiny snowflakes peeking through. I'm going to go ahead and add some liquid glue all the way around on the back of the panel and then adhere it to my A2 sized card base, just taking it from corner to corner. I've chosen a sentiment from the Swirly Christmas Tree bundle. It says, "Wishing you the joy of the season." I'm stamping this in some intensified black ink. I'll stamp it 2 times so I can get some nice coverage, but I'm not pressing down very hard. I don't want to lose my line work. I went ahead and cut that out with the coordinating die off camera, and I did glue 2 additional die cuts to the back to give it some dimension. Now I'm going to glue it towards the corner of this piece of vellum that I have, just making sure that it's nice and lined up. And now I can bring in my paper trimmer, and I'm going to use the blade to trim off an equal amount of the vellum on each side of my sentiment. Vellum works really, really well to help a sentiment stand out from a busier background. And so we have a lot going on with our snowflakes and our wax, and I don't want the sentiment to get lost. Once I have cut all the way around, you can see we have this nice vellum rectangle, and I'm going to take it and put some glue on the back just behind the sentiment where I can see the paper. This makes it so that we won't have any glue showing through the vellum on the front of our card. Now I'll glue this down towards the bottom right-hand third of the card. This is one of my favorite spots to put a sentiment. It looks really nice. And you can see I don't have wax over those 2 white snowflakes. So here's our finished card. Look at that beautiful shine from the Icelandic wax and our nice sentiment. Love, love, love. The wax on our stenciled piece has dried. It dries pretty quickly, and I've laid my snowflakes back out again based loosely on the picture that I took earlier. I have some really thin foam squares here, and I'm going to put them in the center of the snowflakes. That way our snowflakes will get lifted up just a little bit and they won't get in the way of the wax at all. Once I've added them all down, I can go ahead and use my scissors just to trim off the excess snowflakes that are going off the edges of the cardstock. For our sentiment, I'm using the Joyful Christmas Messages bundle. I've chosen this one that says Peace and Joy, and again, I'll stamp this one out in intensified black ink. This is such a great ink for stamping. You get beautiful coverage and a really nice black color. I am going to stamp this a second time, so I'll go ahead and ink that up, flip it over, press and lift. Next, I'll go ahead and add glue to the back of our completed panel, and I can add this to my A2 sized card base. I added foam squares in differing thickness to the back of my sentiment, and now I'll bring that in and pop it right next to the blue snowflake. Here is our finished second card. You have all of that nice shine from the added wax through the stencil. And we still have that fun 3-color play just like our first card. Really easy to get this 2-for-1 result. All right, guys, please be sure to like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification bell so that you'll know about future videos here on the Hero Arts channel. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a great day.